After freedom struck my country, after the thousands dead, I am the only one left, the only one to know, the only one guilty, the only one to resist death, before my people's bones, before flowers of freedom country, before my people knew know nothing, before flowers were flesh. I am the only one with no gun, the only one no one suspected, the only one, after my eyes were burnt out, after remains of whitewashed bones. How did apartheid transform the passion of the poet into a tangible form of resistance? In order to understand the role of poetry during apartheid, a focus on historical events, political movements, and poetic works will convey the brutality, loss, and suffering of the Black South African population and humanize them in an attempt to reveal the true devastation of their experiences. The fight led by the white government to repress Black resistance through legislation, such as the Bantu Education Act, led to the merging of poetry into politics and the public forum. Education became an important weapon against white colonization and rule. Poets utilized the English language as a symbolic and nonviolent tool to oppose white supremacy while also using it to create the deepest and most profound works of art. After the 1976 Soweto uprising, Black consciousness became a powerful influence in the poetic movement, providing an intellectual network in which South Africans could establish a unifying feeling of identity. The power of collective thought, feeling, and that newly acquired identity kindled the development of contemporary poetry in South Africa, which reflected vivid insight on the pain and suffering Black South Africans and others in opposition to apartheid were experiencing. The term committed writer fits those who expressed the true nature of apartheid without hiding any component, publicizing the terror surrounding their circumstances to fuel a reaction towards the resistance movement. Been watching this jive for too long. That's struggle. West Street ain't the place to hang around anymore. Pavitt's building is gone. Gone is Osmond's bottle store, and West Street is dry, the dry of patent leather when the guests have left. And the cats have to roll like dice in the passageways, seeking a fix, while they keep off the jinx. That's struggle. Miasmic haze at 12 noon, stretching out into the wilderness of uniformed gables, vast and penetrating as the devil's eye. At night you see another dream, white and monstrous, dropping from earth's heaven, whitewashing your own black dream. That's struggle. Get up to listen to black screams outside, with deep cries, bitter cries. That's struggle. Struggle is when you have to lower your eyes and steer time with your bent voice. When you drag along, mechanically, your shoulders refusing like a young bull not wanting to dive into the dipping tank. Struggle is keying your tune to harmonize with your inside. Witness a dachshund bitch shitting, a beautiful black woman's figure too close by, her hand holding the strap, in a white lonely suburb. Tramp the city, even if you're sleep-weary, 'cause your black arse can't rest on a whites-only seat. Jerk your talk, frown in your laughs, smile when you ain't happy. That's struggle. Struggle is being offered choices that fink your smiles, choices that dampen your frown. Struggle is knowing what's lacking in your desires, 'cause even your desires are made to be too hard for you to grab. Seeing how far you are from the abyss, far the way your people are, searching your way out, searching to find it, ain't nobody to cry for you. When you know what's bugging your mama coming from the white madams, when all the buses don't pick you up in the morning on your way to work, 'cause there ain't even room to stand. Maybe you squeezed all of Soweto, Umlazi, KwaMashu into one stretch of a dream. Maybe Chatsworth, maybe Bonteheuwel. Then you chased it and went after it. It, and its. Perhaps you broke free. If you have seen cues at the off-course tote, seen a man's guts, the man walking still, seen a man blue-eye his wife, seen a woman be kicked by a cop, you seen struggle. If you have heard a man bugger a woman, old as his mother, heard a child giggle at obscene jokes, heard a mother weep over a dead son, heard a foreman say boy to a laboring upa, heard a bellowing drunken voice in an alley, you heard struggle. Knowing words don't kill, but a gun does. That's struggle. For no more jive, evening's 8 ain't never late, black is struggle. Approaching apartheid resistance from a white perspective illustrates that the black South African community wasn't alone in their fight for freedom. How can a poet write about someone of another race if they themselves have no idea what the other experiences on a daily basis? An analysis on Nadine Gordimer and Jeremy Cronin reveals similarities and differences in their literary approaches, their positions in society, their stance regarding apartheid, and their different conceptions of struggle and resistance. Gordimer seems to be confined to white society, unable to perceive a way to directly attack pro-apartheid members of the community, and is targeted for her attempts to reach international attention while avoiding the immediate group she claims is affected. Her obsessive ideas revolve around the inability to escape the inevitable grasp of racism that white society has been fundamentally built upon. Instead, she views racism as a stink that white South Africans must endure despite their aversion to it. Cronin, on the other hand, seems to be actively resisting racism. His exposure to and experience of imprisonment allow him to establish a connection with the black South African community as he embraces the similarities apparent in the struggle away from apartheid ideals. What's highly important in Cronin's thinking is his categorization of South Africans as people, avoiding racial, gender, or class-oriented distinctions. We can approach the changes in South African poetry in relation to changes in post-apartheid politics, and assert that successful poetry is beginning to follow the flow of socio-political change while grasping real human emotion and experience established by historical events and advances in political construction. South Africa, although reallocating social, political, and material resources, must also redistribute normality, or a sense of literary and expressive freedom, which represents reconciliation through universal feelings of understanding. Comparing the poet to a negotiator, we can say that the poet holds the reins for new artistic and expressive societal development. The poet has power over thoughts surrounding raw emotion or vivid reality, and can open the door to emotional freedom. Although apartheid is over, South Africa still feels its effects. It's important for the poet to keep the emotions surrounding the scars of apartheid accessible and alive. Poetry and the flow of thoughts, ideas, and emotions can pave a way towards reconciliation.